Hello and welcome to Ewe Sew You. My name's Zoe and this is my channel all about the crafty bits and pieces I get up to. I knit, I sew, I spin on a drop spindle, I dabble in weaving from time to time, and anything else that takes my crafty fancy really. Now this week we are talking about all the things I have been making in September, so grab a brew, put your feet up and let's get started. Welcome back to any returning viewers, and to any new viewers a very warm welcome to you. As you probably know, if you're a returning viewer particularly, I do aim to put a video up every week, but unfortunately last week I wasn't able to because I got struck with the cold from hell. I'm obviously on the mend now, a bit croaky in the throat still, but hey, I'm back and we're ready to go with another video. Obviously being poorly has affected my output this month somewhat. I have never had a cold like it. It absolutely wiped me out for like 3 days, and I struggled quite a bit around it as well. So yeah, not really been feeling the crafting as much as I have been in other months, but I still do have some stuff to show you. So let's get going with what I am wearing. This is a tunic from a Lacala pattern. If you're not familiar with Lacala, they're a budget-friendly pattern company. You put your measurements into the system and it drafts a pattern according to your measurements. So you'll only get the one size. You can choose whether you want seam allowance on it or not. The fabric itself is a quilting cotton from Minerva with this lovely pastel-y butterfly print all over it. Now, the fabric is good. The fabric has a good weight to it. It's not drapey, which is fine. It's a bit more structured than some other tunics that I might have made. And it's easy to work with, as quilting cottons generally are. It's a reasonable thickness, so it's good for the summer that now appears, judging by today's grotty weather, to be coming to a close. So timed that well. I've got another cotton lawn project to sew up as well, which is even better timed because that's thinner. I'll be ready for next year. The fabric's great. The pattern, however, I do have a few niggles with. I've made a Lacala pattern before and I thought that I might have forgotten to put my height in because of the length that the shirt came out. It came out kind of tunic length, which is obviously what you expect for this particular project being a tunic pattern. But no, I had actually put my height in. So yeah, they draft things slightly longer than I would ideally like, which is fine for this one. As I say, it's a tunic anyway. So a couple of inches longer than I probably would have done if I'd have drafted it myself, but it's fine. Then niggly things, one of which I probably should have realised when I was cutting out the fabric. The plackets at the front here have no facing. They're interfaced, but you only cut one out. And I did go back and reread the pattern pieces and the instructions, and yeah, you only cut one out. It means that the interfacing is next to my skin here. So yeah, that's not ideal. If I'd have thought about it when I was cutting it out, I obviously would have cut out 2 of each rather than having this effect, and that would have given a neater finish on the inside. I mean, I'm the only one that can see it, to be fair. It's not uncomfortable, it's just not quite what I was going for. The collar was too long for the neck, so I've had to trim that back. I actually trimmed it back after I'd attached it because I hadn't quite worked out what was going on with it. So the corners on the front of the collar aren't even, but again, I can live with that. Because they're on the side of the neck rather than right next to each other, it's not as obvious as it could be. And it's an adjustment I'll need to make if I reuse the pattern pieces. The other little slight pondering, I'll say, rather than a niggle. The front bodice you gather onto the yoke. Fine. You then put elastic on the shoulder seam. I'm not convinced you need to do both. So I may just gather them if I was to do this again, rather than putting the elastic on as well. I suppose you could use the elastic to gather the fabric in, I'm sure the elastic serves some sort of function, I just can't work out what it is. It's not gathering the fabric in because you've already done that. I suppose it could be stabilising the seam, but it's a stable woven fabric anyway. I don't know. If you know, if you've come across this before and you know why the elastic is there, let me know down in the comments, because I'm curious. Because yeah, I don't know that it's entirely necessary. It's not a problem. It's not uncomfortable. I just don't know that it's got any functional benefit to the integrity of the garment. But yeah, the only change I made to this pattern when I was putting it together is you're supposed to put buttonholes in down the placket and on the little epaulets. But seeing as I can get this off over my head, I didn't see the need for functional buttons, so I have just sewn them through the 2 layers as decorative buttons rather than functional ones. And again, epaulets, unless you're in the forces and you need to put your rank badges on there, you don't need a functional button on an epaulet. You just don't. So yeah, so that's just sewn through the fabric. So that's all good. Yeah, it's comfortable. It will get a bit of wear, possibly more around the house than out and about because of the collar, unless I forget about it. And it'll be for layering in the autumn. I can see this with long sleeve something underneath it. I can see it with big chunky cardies over the top of it. So yeah, so it will get a bit of wear most of the year round. It just might not get as much as some of my other garments because I have these niggles with the pattern. So yeah, so that is actually my one finished object for August. I should have also sewn up the cotton lawn and started sewing up a handbag as well. Oh, which is the fabric which I could show you actually. I might dig that out in a bit. So moving on to works in progress. We have here my temperature cross stitch that I occasionally show you. I'm not up to date on it, but I am at the end of June. So if I bring that closer to you, so I've got July and August and September to do. So yeah, so it's a few months out of date, but we're getting there. So yeah, I'm enjoying the cross stitch. It's going to be pretty when it's done. I can get through a month usually in a sitting, maybe over 2. So it shouldn't take me too long when I'm in a cross stitching mood to actually get up to date on that. So yeah, July, August and September to get done on that. Okay, so that's that one. I don't have any other stitching works in progress to show you. I do have a crochet work in progress though. You might remember I showed you in a previous video my January and February squares for my Gamer Crafting year-long blanket project. Yeah, I know. It's almost October. It'll be October by the time you see the video. I've done 2 whole months, and I've started March. So we're still on the super variegated yarn, which seems to be a bit of a theme for this year's blanket club. It's a galaxy theme, so it's lots of purples and blues and dark colours. I did go for the sparkle sock base because it's space, it's got to have some sparkle. So yeah, so I've got the centre of the Sophie square done for March. Again, I can get this done inside a week, a full square inside a week, doing a bit of crochet each evening, or even over like 3 or 4 evenings. I just need to actually sit down and do it, because my head hasn't been fully functional with this cold from hell. Yeah, even when I wasn't flat out, I wasn't focused. So that's on the go, and I've also got another long-term WEP to show you. Now this is a project I started easily 2 years ago. Easily. It is a project that I think I may have underestimated the yarn for as well. But I have done a bit of work on it this week, whilst I've been feeling a little bit better. It's not going to be the easiest to show you because I've only just joined it in the round. Now this sweater I did get quite far through on before, but I had to rip it back because I wasn't happy with how it was turning out, and because this is a pattern that I'm designing myself, I want it to be right. So you can see there we've got some argyle patterning starting to happen. The colours may look familiar to you. This is not the same yarn, but it is the same colour combination as I did my Academy sock pattern in, which is available on Etsy and Ravelry if Ravelry's something that you can use. It's also on Lovecrafts. So they're I did them in like a sport weight, but they work in fingering as well. My test knitters did them in fingering. But they're a sock that my version, I did the main colour in the burgundy, and then they've got a band of this argyle patterning on as well. So the yarn that I'm using for this sweater is a Holst yarn. I've got the spare balls by my feet, so just bear with me a moment and I'll show you what it looks like when it comes. Holst comes caked up, which is handy. So I've got plenty of the grey and the charcoal. I'm not worried about that one at all, but the burgundy, I only have the one cake left, and some little bits from where I ripped back before. I don't know what I was thinking. Really don't know what I was thinking. I'm not totally sure this is going to be enough yarn, although it's a decent length per cake. I'm holding it double. So yeah, so I'm going to need to order some more of certainly the burgundy. So this is Holst Noble, which is Geelong and wool. It's Geelong and cashmere. 95% Geelong, which is a Australian sheep breed, I believe, and 5% cashmere. Comes in 50-gram cakes, which are 333 metres, 364 yards. It's soft to work with. Holst yarn is generally spun in the grease, but this doesn't have the same greasy, crunchy feel as Holst Super Soft when you knit it. That really sort of comes into its own when it's blocked. I suspect this is going to puff up a bit as well when it blocks out as well. The swatch certainly did. I am using Jasper for the burgundy, so that's the Jasper colourway. I'm using Flint for the light grey, and yeah, charcoal for the charcoal. So yeah, I can see a Holst order coming my way at some point in the not too distant future. I'm going to work out how much more I need to get once I've got past the colourwork section of the sweater. The original plan was to release it as a pattern, and that plan is still in place. I just need to work out how to grade patterns, because garments. And then I'll need to find myself someone to tech edit it, I think. It's quite complicated design in a way. Because what I've done, it's a top-down raglan, but I've modified the shape of the raglan increases. So see, I don't know if you'll be able to see this very clearly because it's obviously not even a full yoke at the moment. I've got ladderback jacquard going along, so you've got the argyle across the front and the back, but not on the sleeves. And where a traditional raglan sleeve would be like a diagonal line from the neckline to the armpit, I haven't done that on this. I've shaped it a bit more, so the front increases more steeply than the top of the shoulder. If I can just pop it up here, it might give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. So your raglan shaping is actually going to curve out towards the head of your shoulder first before it starts coming down the front of the arm. So it's not your standard diagonal shape. It's a little bit more tailored to the shape of the body. At least that's the plan anyway. The plan is also to have slightly fuller sleeves than a lot of sweater patterns these days, mostly because I find it a little bit awkward sometimes to put a sweater on over long sleeves. So having looser sleeves is going to make that a little bit easier. So yes, I'm working on that at the moment, and I'll go as far as I can before I run out of yarn, and hopefully I have it done by the end of the year. It really depends on when I can get an order put in. So yeah, so that's that. Now let's talk about plans, because like I say, I haven't been doing very much. So I mentioned in the last month's, the What I'll Be Making in August video, that I was planning on taking part in Stephen West's Shawlography knit along, but I didn't have all the yarn at that time. What I did have at that point was these 3 colours. These are all Cascade Heritage Superwash Merino Nylon sock yarn, so they're left over from Sock Madness. So I had, oh, are they putting the colourways on here? No, they've put the colour number on there. So I've got this beigey colour, this burgundy reddish colour. It's kind of like red wine, isn't it, that colour? This orangey pumpkin-y colour. And the shawlography pattern will need 5 colourways. It's a 5 skein shawl, or it's a 5 colours shawl. So I ordered from Lovecrafts these 2 colours. So I have this barber poling, it's kind of variegated, I guess it's kind of striped a bit when it knits up, looking at how the colours are distributed. This barber poling orange fiery autumny skein, and this greenish yellow barley-ish colour. I can't remember the names of the colourways, and they're not written on the labels, so yeah, that's helpful. The Barber Poly one is one of their Wave series of colourways, rather than the Cascade Heritage, but I think they go together rather nicely. Yeah, so yeah, pretty pleased with that. And that kicks off in about a week, so I'm going to need to cake those up. Okay, so my other plans for moving forward through October, hopefully done in October, possibly finished in November, but hopefully done in October because I'm already behind on them. I do have, as I say, some cotton lawn cut out ready to be made up into a Charlie caftan, but that's been sitting there for over a month, so really ought to sew that up. These are both Minerva projects, by the way, these sewing projects, as is the tunic that I'm wearing. So I got from Minerva with my cottons this cork leather, which I'm going to pair with this blue faux leather that I had in stash from ages ago. I bought this with the intention of making the Annette handbag by Swoon Patterns, but then I didn't manage to find a fabric to go with it until now. So I'm going to be making the Annette handbag from Swoon Patterns out of cork leather and faux leather. I have the pattern ready to cut out. I did have in my head the vague idea of filming myself cutting out the pieces, but I'm going to be cutting it out with a rotary cutter, and I don't normally use a rotary cutter, and I really don't want to film myself cutting off my fingers. So I probably won't be filming that, just because I'm not used to using a rotary cutter. If I was more familiar with it, I wouldn't have a problem doing that. But I think for safety's sake, no. So, yeah, so those are my plans. I've got the faux leather and I've got the shawlography coming up, as well as obviously finishing off that sweater, catching up on my temperature cross stitch, catching up on my blanket, and more whips to get finished, really, because it would be nice to have some of them cleared out before the end of the year. Let's not get too optimistic. I'm not going to clear out all of them, but we'll get some of them done. Okay, so that's all I have for you this week. So yeah, not the most productive of months. As I say, I do aim to put a video out every weekend, and usually I manage that. I mean, there's been like maybe 3 occasions this year where I haven't, which I don't think is too bad. Sometimes life happens. But yeah, so that's me for this week. Like and subscribe and ding the bell down below like all the YouTubers tell you if you like to spend some more time with me. I do videos like this once a month where I'm rounding up what I've made the previous month. I also do more sort of craft specific videos, or showing, like sometimes it's showing you a particular technique, sometimes it's showing you a project, sometimes I just sit and waffle at the camera. You takes what you gets. So yeah, like and subscribe, as I say, down below. There will be up on the screen, either now or in a moment, some suggested videos for you to watch next, so by all means go and do that, and I will see you next time. But until then, happy crafting, and bye bye for now.